Hello, I'm Ginger.
And I'm Torrie.
We're two black girls navigating adulthood while trying to make this shmoney.
Our goal is that this podcast will help you realize that you are not alone on your journey to achieving your dreams.
Each week, there will be a new podcast where we talk about lifestyle,
self-fulfillment,
and achieving your goals. Now let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the I2 podcast.
Thank you guys for joining us. Today, we're going to really talk about how we have reconnected. Mm-hmm. Yeah, our backstory, how we reconnected, the year of 2020, and our plans for the future.
Yep. And we're talking about, why we're doing this podcast, too. So we're going to work our way, backwards or forward. Yep. So we're going to start at a point where, we were in college and everything and kind of the things that happened, 2020 and all of the craziness that was, and then how we got to this point of this podcast. So let's begin with our backstory. Tori, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So before the crazy times of 2020, I was in school, finishing my last year in my bachelor's program. I majored in public health. And I was, really busy with internships and everything. And it's funny that even before the pandemic really started, or at least in the U.S., we heard about things, but we still had class. And it seemed like all of a sudden we were, forced to leave. We had to pack up. I didn't really get to see my roommate and her cat before I left. And then I was just forced into online classes that were extremely boring. And while doing that, I still had to plan for graduate school. So I was applying to graduate school programs, and I finally got in to a public health master's program, and that was mostly online. So that's pretty much it for me. What about you, Ginger?
I feel it. I love when you said I didn't get to say goodbye to my roommate and her cat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Before the craziness of 2020, I was actually ending my junior year. It was like my senior year. I'd spent 5 years in school. So I was doing my student teaching. It was the first part of my student teaching where I went in once a week and kind of I was observing a high school. So I was already having issues with that because I was having trouble getting my placement. It was a lot of different things going on. And so then I finally got my placement. I'm like, yes, this is great. I'm about to start my student teaching. This is fantastic. I'm ready to rock and roll. March hit. I remember being in wind ensemble because I played the flute in wind ensemble. I'm a musician. Whoop, whoop. And I remember he said, all these other universities, our conductor said, all these other universities closed down. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we'll see what happens. It's not a big deal. I wasn't really aware of how, it was an apocalypse going on outside of the four walls of the school. Because, when you go to school, you're thinking, that's all that really matters at that point. Because school is like tunnel vision. And then I remember the next day or whatever, it was like a Thursday, they told us not to come back to school. And then we started all these virtual classes. I was like, oh my goodness, that was a lot. And then that fall semester, I started student teaching full-time elementary. It was a lot of fun. Kids really rose to the occasion, but definitely challenging. Circle all the way back around to the end of that fall semester. Torrie and I reconnected, which was a lot of fun. And we started I2. And started doing a lot of stuff on, Etsy and different products and all those kinds of things. And then finally having my senior recital.
Yeah.
And now
which she did a wonderful job. She was amazing.
Thank you. Uh-huh. So my senior recital was not flute, it was piano. So I'm a pianist. Is my primary instrument, piano. And then I play flute as my secondary instrument. So yeah, I did my senior recital, piano. I did about 8 songs. You can go search it up on YouTube, Ginger Edwards senior recital. Whoop, whoop. And yeah, honestly, it just feels like it's been such a whirlwind, everything just happened so quickly and so fast from all the things going on with school, because as you know, Torrie, school is just hectic. It's just so hectic. And with school, it's go, signing up for hours, and then if you're not doing that, you're doing community service, you're doing internships, you're taking classes. It's a lot of stuff going on. So going from that to the world is getting shut down, but then there's still a lot of stuff going on virtually. And then going from that to everybody's getting back out, but still at the same time, is it, are we ready? And it's just, it's a lot of different things going on. And I think, and we'll talk about this, of course, in later podcasts, but just the mental toll that takes on people, But yeah, so that's our brief backstory. And I think we should also talk a little bit about why we started I2 in the first place, what this space is supposed to be for. So, this space is supposed to be kind of just our story, but also too, we know that we're not the only ones going through this story, that it's not just us, traveling through this like young adult, because we're both young adults, we're in our early 20s, and we're just trying to navigate everything. I just graduated college. Torrie's going through her master's, so
last year. Woo!
I heard that and it's just like, it's such a different life to be in. Torrie, you want to speak a little bit on that?
Yeah. In our age of social media, looking on Instagram, we're used to seeing people who are our age and even a little bit younger. They have a little house, they balling, they're traveling to all these places. And I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, am I in a different reality? Am I on a different board game than you? Because it's very easy to seem like you're left behind, like you're not achieving things as you should, but we're all on our own paths, we're on our own track. And really, we want this podcast to be like a safe space for everyone, because, we all have our own track that we're on. So we don't have to rush. We don't have to measure ourselves up to other people, and it's okay.
I completely agree, because I think that with this podcast, we really want to create a sense of community, and with this brand, really creating a sense of community. A highlight, and just something I keep thinking about, is not being alone, that you're not the only one. Like Torrie, like you mentioned, Torrie, it's very much like, you see these people on social media, they got the cars, they got the clothes, they're getting married, they're doing this, they're doing that, and I'm like, wow, I'm looking at my, my imaginary watch, and I'm just like, am I, are my dials not moving quick enough? Am I, what's going on there? And so, just realizing you are on your own path, and our path right now is so many different things. Everything from, we're navigating this new space here, right? We want to grow this brand and have community, but also we want to make this money. We said that in our introduction. We want to also be like, we have to think of reality. We want to be paid too. So we want financial stability while enjoying what we do, loving what we do, being passionate about what we do, and just that in combination with relationships. So as you can tell, it's many different branches. This podcast will branch off into many different things. Specifically, I guess, about young adult life and just how we're navigating it, and just having those conversations, about finances, which is something that you don't learn in school, unfortunately, unless you're specifically majoring in finances. So all of those kind of things. And one thing I hope too for this podcast is that Torrie and I grow closer, because we're already pretty close. But I think that as we share these stories and talk about our emotions and feelings, and and use this space and use this time, that we'll also grow closer in our friendship, which is something I have a goal for in 2021, is strengthening friendships. So I really love that this is a safe space, that not just for us, but for you all, where you can make comments, you can build community. We're going to build other communities on different platforms. You'll be able to find us on Instagram, on Twitter. We'll even probably have a Facebook group, all kinds of things where we can share our stories, and we can check in with each other and just bond and really create long-lasting friendships and relationships that, might not be in your same, circle or in your same space. You might connect with somebody from a different state. You never know. So just to open that door to that. So I love that about this podcast.
And our podcast would actually kind of be a journal, because hopefully as we go forward, you would see things happening in our lives, see growth, hopefully, from like the first episode to the 50th, hopefully, so I'm excited.
I'm very excited. I I'm really pumped up for this. Like, I'm trying to hold in my excitement because I don't want to go crazy on the podcast and be like, oh my gosh. But for sure, I'm just really excited for the community that we're going to create here. Because also, too, creating this podcast is not just for you to, feel like there's someone else, but us too. Like, this is a need, this is something that we need, to talk about these issues and to get your opinion on these issues. And, so I think it's very inclusive. So just anyone, every perspective, we want to really be open, and I want to grow. I really want to grow so much. And speaking of growth, that 2020 was such a unexpected year, and it just showed you that you just gotta have many different eggs in many different baskets, getting it many different ways.
Yeah, different streams of income, be able to adapt. Because I think one of the scariest things, like through the pandemic, I have kind of gotten secondhand fear just hearing about people like losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And like putting time into a company, and then like the company, well, I understand that they have to make money. Sometimes they don't care about you. Mm-hmm. So you're putting in all these hours for someone else. And Ginger always mentions how she doesn't want to put her, what do you say?
Oh, I
put the effort into somebody else's dream.
Oh, yeah. I want to. I actually there's this YouTuber, and I love her. Her name is Angie Bellamar. We're gonna shout Angie Bellamar out. Mm-hmm. She's so motivational, but she always says, like, why sit there and work for someone else's dream, right? You can work for your own dream, and that's definitely what she has done. Worked for her own dream, and it really made me sit down and think, like, do I want to work towards someone else's dream? And you're putting in all these hours, maybe barely getting paid to work for someone else's dream, or do you want to work for something that you believe in? And I think it really speaks to what I want to do with my music, and also what I want to do in my community as far as teaching. That as a teacher, although I am working for a school district, I feel like I am investing in the lives of our community, and it feels like it's something I believe in, and definitely just really pushing my community forward. So 2020 really showed us that you have to believe in what you're doing, and you need to make sure that you are, like you said, adaptable, willing to be flexible, but also having, how can I say this? It's just so many different things that 2020 has taught me that we could really go on and on and on. But being adaptable, being flexible, having things that you believe in, and also just realizing that we are not perfect, and that things happen, and that things come up, and that you have to make a change, and sometimes you have to uproot, everything that you knew and go to something else. So for sure. But it showed me that, like, life is short, and that we must be passionate about what we are doing. So